یک پنج هفت پنج هشت شش پنج هشت هشت صفر.
Well, shortly after the assassination of the Iranian supreme leader, this interesting signal appeared on the HF spectrum. It first started operating at 7910 kilohertz and then started to move to 7842, and I believe we're going to see another shift here very shortly. What's interesting about the signal is it now does have an enigma designator as V32. It's just number sets sent in Farsi. And one of the interesting things that drew my attention the first week the signal was on the air was the fact that the Iranian bubble jammer took notice, and the Iranians started to jam the initial frequency of 7910, which then moved the operator to 7842. However, today, which is 316, the Iranians have activated the bubble jammer to now jam 7842, so I suspect that we'll be seeing the frequencies shift again. But what I want to circle back around to is whether or not the jamming in and of itself constitutes anything of legitimacy to the signal. And I thought about it, and I figured I could reach back in recent history and we could draw parallels to another event very similar to this and see how that operator pushed pirates or interference off of the frequencies that they occupy. And that would be Russia's UVB-76. And so I'd like to take a few clips here of UVB-76 operators and how that they've basically dealt with pirates interfering on 4625 kilohertz. And then I'd like to look at some pirates as well that have generated some very interesting looking channel markers that imitate Russian military signals. And then I'd like to finally end with some fake number stations examples that have occurred here in the United States, and we'll take a look at that. So let's first queue up some examples of what Russia has done here with pirates operating on 4625.
پنج هفت هفت پنج چهار چهار هفت هفت.
Okay, seen here in this first example of the Russian operators of UVB-76 fighting off pirates, they utilized three different transmitters, the main transmitter at 4625, and then placing a secondary transmitter just below it, and then a third right above it. And this was done to get the pirates not only off the fundamental of 4625 and their 3.3 kilohertz occupied bandwidth, but also by sending waterfall images above and below the buzzer. So we'll take a quick look at this and then we'll move to the next sample. Okay, pretty interesting sample there. You could see various waveforms being sent, and really an aggressive approach to make something undesirable to get people they don't want on the frequency off. Sort of similar as the bubble jammer is doing. So we'll go ahead and take a quick glimpse at another sample here. Okay, well, there's just a couple examples of how the Russian UVB-76 operators have chosen to try and get people who are occupying the frequency that they also occupy from taking advantage of it at the same time. And what I'd like to do next is look at some pirate waveforms of various signals that resemble Russian channel markers as well, only to demonstrate that when it comes to pirates, they definitely can put on a pretty interesting show, and a lot of their channel markers really look pretty legitimate. So let's take a few examples of these. The first one we can see here is a fake buzzer signal. Okay, interesting selection of some pirate channel markers. Obviously very sophisticated, really competent in what they do. Sometimes hard to know the difference. And that was a pretty good selection. Next, I want to circle back to 7842, and let's take a listen to what I intercepted.
No. And صفر دو چهار هشت هفت پنج سه سه صفر دو.
Okay, you could hear some acoustic coupling going on as the operator moved the microphone in front of some speakers, and in this next sample we'll hear some window operating tone.
صفر دو هفت چهار چهار دو چهار صفر دو صفر سه شش هفت نه هشت دو.
Okay, pretty interesting. You can really hear sort of how the operator might be utilizing the station there. Initially on 7910, it almost seemed like it was electrically coupled. There was also some DTMF tones heard that were interesting to listen to. But ever since it moved to 7842, it does not seem to be the case. The audio quality is really quite awful. And the occupied bandwidth is about 100 to 2900, similar to what you'd see on an ICOM 7300 possibly. Definitely not like anything commercial. Most military commercial HF radios operate between 200 and 400 cycles, or 235, so about 3.3 kilohertz of bandwidth. Well, next I'd like to end with a couple examples of some fake number stations. At the time, not too much was known, but these were recorded off of WRMI, and actually part of a publicity kind of stunt for a video game. So I recorded these, one's in Slavic and one's in English, and they're actually quite good. The interval signal, A+. Let's take a quick listen to the Slavic and English.
8, 2, 7, 5, 8, 4, 3, 6, 1. Один, 4, 3, 2, 1. 7, 8, 5, 9, 8. 9, 8, 2, 7, 5, 8, 4, 3, 6, 1.
Okay, that's a quick sample of the Slavic version, and now we'll move to the English version.
2, 1. 3, 7, 8, 7, 8. 5, 4, 0, 0, 3, 4.
All right, well, that was quite a few signals to kind of showcase, but the idea that I had was to show that there is sometimes a historical narrative to view in the lens that maybe things aren't necessarily as they first appear. There's definitely room for speculation, there's room for doubt, and there's room for investigation. So, I hope you appreciated these samples. I'm Tyler, KA0KA, Signal Phantom. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
9, 1, 4, 9, 0.